Okay, thanks folks for joining the call. So let me just close the YouTube window. Okay. Yes, today is February 11th, when IBMCloud plus API call. So I have put in a few items for today's discussion. I'll be talking a little bit about the SIG housekeeping activities, what we did last week, and then we can, of course, can go through some of the work items and the features what I have created, and then also we can talk through some of the PRs open, and then of course we can talk through backlogs also, right? So you would have seen that last week we just got a mail, as in the Slack thread, Slack request from folks for so the like updation part, like for example, so they have created this annual report, and then they have asked us to fill a form, and the deadline is like 15th of February. So that we have done already. So, and then we'll go through the content what we submitted and all, right, in some time. And then also there is a request, if you're going to talk something in the internet track, feel free to reach out to SIG leads for that. And also there is an request for updating the SIG cluster lifecycle. All right, so that I have done. So we'll talk, even also I'm going to cover that also, what we haven't written on, right? Okay, so quickly I'll just cover the form part. I have just grabbed the response here. So this is what I have submitted already. So I just thought it would be good if we can talk through this for information, right? So I mean, it is kind of like a very basic self-assessment for individual projects. So they have they have set of questions here. So basically, like, you just need to mention your project name. So in our case, like cluster API provided for IBMCloud, and then so they have some engagement questions like, are we really having the the regular officers and then whatnot? So at least they expect us to have every month. So anyway, so we just having every week, so that's good. And then also there is a question about how many people, and then the meeting notes, are we maintaining it? So even they have that, and then meeting recording, are we maintaining it? So that also they have it. I mean, that also we have it. And then in the past 6 months, did you organize additional ad hoc meetings? Right? So far we haven't conducted any. Like, we're just meeting every week. So that's what we are doing. So we haven't got any sort of thing extra meeting. So we just haven't selected anything there. And then they also asked, are we really updating the contributing.md? So that we didn't do it in the last 6 months. And did we review update our project roadmap? Of course, we are doing it very often. So that is yes. And then membership. There's a question like, is there an onboarding and growth path for contributing to your project? So yes, we do have enough documentation created for the newcomers to follow and then contribute to the project. So we do have that. And as a project, what programs do you participate in for the new contributors? Right? So far, I think we don't really have anything. So I haven't mentioned anything. So maybe in case if you want to do it like for the future, so we might need to end up mentioning some of summer of code or anything like that. If you have any proposal, we can mention those things here. Yeah, I mean, does your project have contribution from multiple companies? I see no. So mostly because we are other contributions from IBM, right? So that's the reason I just mentioned no here. And from end users contribution, so no, we don't really have anything because we just have the sort of team. We don't want to consider ourselves as end users, right? So that's why we mentioned no. I mean, like, there's a question for updating owner's file. Yes, we are reviewing it and then maintaining it properly. And if yes, what type of changes did you apply for the owner files? Right? So we just added more reviewers to it. in the past 6 months or at least, and then approvers, I think we haven't done much changes for the approvers for quite some time, right? So that's about it. And as a project team, do you need help in any area now, right? So yes, we are exploring the way to include the E2E in Kubernetes community via CI/CD Pro. So that's where we need some help from the other folks, right? So in order to see how to kind of make the CI and other stuff running for our project, right? So that's where we need some help as a project team. So what are you doing in order to increase your contributor base, right? So we are trying to enhance the documentation and user guides. That's what I have mentioned. So feel free to mention if anything needs to be done in terms of getting new contributors or this contributor base, right? So that's one thing. And current initiatives, I haven't mentioned anything here. As a project team, how many releases did you have in the last 6 months? Actually, we just have done two major releases I would consider. So I don't want to consider any alpha releases as a release as of now. But eventually we might, once we GA, and then we might end up having more Z stream sort of releases. So that count may increase to 3 to 4 or 5 going forward. And then what's now like the stability part, right? So I just mentioned as beta, so I don't want to consider alpha because we do have good amount of, I mean, the quality is pretty stable. That's the reason I just mentioned as beta. I mean, we are not at stable because we need to have more and more tests added, and then we should also have E2E running. So only then we can call it as stable. But as of now, I want to consider this project as a beta, right? And what are some of the longer scale effort that your project is working on, right? So we just want to include CI/CD and enough test cover results. So this is something we are struggling, and then we want to have it in the project. So that's I want to consider as as struggling points, right? And there is also a question about the CI signal allocated to project maturity. I would say no, because we're not really running the E2E part of PR test, right? So that's something we need to do it as soon as possible, right? So yeah, I mean, there is a question for the documentation part. I did not want to say yes. Also, I don't want to say no because we do have documentation and then we are exposing in the public world, but there is a scope for improvement, right? So that's what I am considering here. So yeah, I mean, a lot more needs to be enhanced, right? So of course, feel free to go ahead and then update it. So I think end of this year we should be able to we should be able to in a position where we can say yes, right? So we of course need to add more details there in terms of the end-to-end. I always feel that we somehow we have some lack here. I think we just need to add more details, right? So I think, for example, like the how user can use images. So that's something will be get updated soon, and also probably as image can the spec can add more information there, and then a lot more information needs to be added from the VPC side also. That's something is missing at the moment. So that's the reason. So we just need to add more details there. As a project, do you participate to SIG bi-weekly meetings? I consider this SIG bi-weekly meeting is the one which conducted by the lifecycle, SIG lifecycle. So because that's the kind of parent for all these projects, right? So I think we are not having any presence at the moment. I highly encourage you folks to join that SIG lifecycle meeting, whenever it happens, weekly or bi-weekly, whatever. I mean, it's a bi-weekly meeting, and also ensure that we should start attending cluster API meeting going forward, right? So that way we know like what's really going on there, and then what needs to be kind of, I mean, like at least we get to know like the release plan and then content for the next release and then what future releases and all. So that way it will be helpful, right? So I highly recommend for you folks to attend that meeting. So And then there is a question of which SIG projects do you interact with, right? So there are this bunch of project I have listed. I just marked it cluster API because we just closely work with cluster API, and we do create some PRs. We did create some PRs there, so that's a mandatory thing anyway. So that's I've made it as frequently because we are working with cluster API, and of course the IBM provider, right? And we are also working with image builder for building some of our images. So that I marked it as by opportunity because it's like need basis, right? So that's a reason to that. And I mean, like I have got some suggestions. I haven't mentioned anything there. Yeah, that's pretty much about the form. So what I submitted. So any questions or anything you think something is missing or whatever? So okay, I'll take that. No, if you have any sort of feedback, let me know. We can change any of these responses also. Okay. Form, right? Submitted. Just mention the thread details so that we know what's really we are talking about. And then we have also submitted a PR for okay. And so there is this request for updating the README. So that I have done it here. So yeah, I mean, basically it's kind of updating this sig.6.yml with all the required information. Yeah, I mean, like we did have some information previously, like we were pointing to the owner's file and then whatnot, but still there was some information missing for the contact, like the Slack channel we use it, and then also the information related to meetings. So that's right. So that was missing. So I have added that, and after this, once it gets merged under C cluster lifecycle README, you should see something. Not sure why it is not displaying the rich text. But anyway, so this is going to be like in the README file under Swift cluster lifecycle, and then it will contain all the details like the Slack channel and then meeting information. And also I have included our YouTube playlist, and then also the meeting agenda and then notes, right? And then, I mean, like we just got LGTM from the folks, and then we might need to get an approval from the required folks. So that will happen. So, yeah. So that's about the PR. What we submitted. I'll just mention that as well in the meeting notes. PR for creating the SIG. Yeah, that's pretty much about the housekeeping work. And then we'll see what features are PRs. It's features, I think I'm not sure what we delivered. So let me check if something got merged in a big time frame. We can discuss about those things. Documentation release. I mean, like, of course, I think we can also talk about the changes we merged, right? So I think that is also fine, not just features. Not sure whether we got a chance to. Yeah, I mean, this is just another PR what we merged. For installing kubectl, this is a very minor one. And then we did merge some work in terms of fixing Power BI's image deletion path. So, Prajat, you want to talk about this a bit? Maybe 1 minute, a couple of minutes.
Yeah, sure, Manju. So the bug was that we wanted to tie the Power BI image to the cluster, right? And what was happening when we are trying to delete the cluster, right? So it was getting deleted, but the image was getting left behind, okay, during the call. So what we are doing here is that this code basically it tries to list down the descendants, right? So whenever there is a trigger call for deletion of a cluster, it will try to list down the descendants. So basically, what are the things the cluster is dependent upon, or what are the different resources, right, which have cluster as a owner reference to that. So since we are tying Power BI's image as a owner to the cluster, right? So cluster, so whatever cluster you create, that cluster will be basically the owner of that particular image. So we have to ensure that before deleting that cluster, right, whenever the delete cluster command is triggered, we ensure that we have to delete the underlying image as well, which is dependent, which is the child of that cluster, because that is the owner, right? So this basically does that. So what this code does is it will first list down all the possible childs, that is the descendants of a cluster. So it will list it by using the owner reference, right? So it will see which all resources have cluster as a owner. Okay, so it will do that. And if you go down to the list descendants function, right? Below, yeah. So one important thing here is that those lines 191 to 194. So we are trying to match the labels. So all the child resources, right, so they will have a cluster label, right? So wherein the cluster name will be the name of the cluster, who is the owner. So it will try to match all the resources which are in that particular namespace as same as the cluster, plus it has a metadata label, right? In the metadata it will have a label of cluster name. Okay, so once it matches all those things, it will list all those possible childs of different resources which are there. So currently we are just sticking to IBM Power BI images, because as far as machines and control planes are concerned, right, since we are using it from the underlying cluster API, so that will be taken care by that controller itself. Okay, so we are only worried about the IBM Power BI images. So we'll list all those possible child values, and once we have listed them, we will call the delete command, right, for that particular controller of the IBM Power BI image.
Yeah.
The images and everything which are there all deleted. If they are not deleted, we'll try to requeue. And once all the child values, once all the images and everything is deleted, we'll go ahead and start deleting the IBM Power BI cluster itself. Yeah, so this will basically ensure that all the childs are deleted before the parent cluster is deleted. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So thanks for taking us through that. So it's wonderful what we read. So yeah. So coming back to the other stuff. So we just used a couple of question bombs, and then what is this? So we just okay. So we just okay. So this is another PR I have merged for updating the depths for release 0.1, because even release 0.1 had a very old dependencies. I have done that. Of course, not many people are using it, so we are not using it anywhere, but just wanted to make sure that we just have the right set of things in there. And then if someone uses cluster CTL with without mentioning the version. So this is going to pick up the GA version so soon. I just want to have another release for 0.1 with this fix. Yeah, so that's about this. And then, yeah, I did push one recent change for updating the release process. So I know it's kind of little as an cryptic, so but yeah, I mean this. I just wanted to make sure that we just have the proper release process documented. Yeah, so I just have that document here. It's more of a like in a typical release, right? So there's two-way. We do it like the alpha release and then GA release. So alpha release, you can see that the all the images what we are pushing inside the staging repository. And so basically what we initially start with is like we just create a new tag and then push that tag to the repository. So this only the admins can do at the moment. So I mean repository admins. And then once we do that, usually what will happens is Google Cloud will trigger the builds automatically, and then you will have the build artifacts published in the Google Cloud. And then once that happens, we just need to create a draft release in the repository itself. So what I really meant is under this release section. So once you have a tag created, and then what you'll see is like, you'll just get to see that particular tag listed here, right? So you'll be end up, what you need to do is like, just go ahead and then create a draft release. So by selecting a tag, whatever newly tag created, so you can just select that tag and then, so automatically, I mean, I think I can just select something for demo purpose maybe. So if you just click on auto generate release notes, what really happens is it will just generate this the bunch of auto generated text. I mean, of course, it's not a as in what really it is doing is like it is just dumping everything from the previous release. So this is not really expected. So we just need to update this and then maybe just remove all the PRs which are not really relevant for this release and then whatnot. That's the typical process. I don't want to go through that entire process in detail, but the story is like you just create that release notes, as in draft release with notes for that new tag. And then, I mean, of course, if this is the alpha beta, you don't, I mean, just you need to check that release as pre-release. And then after that, once we say that release, we just need to have the artifacts uploaded. So you will get these artifacts generated once we have this cloud build is finished. So you'll see the artifacts generated in this particular storage bucket under whatever new tag you created, right? So that you can download in the local machine, and then you just push this to GitHub release and then publish it, right? So that's about the alpha beta release, and then the similar step for GA release also, but the process is like one more step, addition to that staging repository, because what we need to do is like once we have this image, I can just show you the image, look how it looks like for the staging and the production, right? So you can see here, right? So this is a typical staging repository. Like you can see here, this is the staging repository it get published for every tag. The idea here is like we just need to, yeah, I mean, these images may get removed, after some time, but we should move these staging repository images to, the production, repository. That really goes by pushing these images to CAPI IBMCloud, right? So this is the production image. So once we push the image into this is like permanent, right? So that process I have documented here. So the entire process, how do we do that? I mean, basically we kind of need to create a PR against this KTest repository. And for example, I also mentioned how to do that. Right? It's more of a like finding the SHA of the staging image, and then mention that SHA here in the file, right? So this is the SHA of the staging repository image. You can see here, right? Yeah, maybe here. So 6. All right. So 6C. Yeah. So this is the SHA we are mentioning, and then the tag we want to create, right? So if you just create with this tag, so what really happens is part of the post submit job they do sort of the CIP here, right? So you can see the job. So this does that magic. So I think they just do the image promotion. So and it's really lengthy file. I don't want to go through, but so they publish it once we kind of once this PR emerges, we'll have to just go ahead and then run this make release command. The make release command got a logic of creating this out directory, and out directory will have all the required manifests we can see here, right? So all our cluster templates and manifests and then whatnot. So that will get updated with released image. And later we just publish that we need to just include that whole content into the asset and then just publish the drafted release, right? So that's what is you can see here, right? So once you see all these files, so these are the files got generated in the out directory with all the updated content, with this image name. I know it's a bit hectic. Yeah, I mean, we are, yeah, of course, in the future release, we need to find a way of maybe making this again automated. But I mean, some part of the image promotion cannot be automated. So we'll have to deal with that. But at least I want to make sure we have some automation for the release notes, which is manual at the moment. I mean, like especially building this release notes, right? So that's something we need to work on getting this automated. But yeah, definitely that's for the future release. Yeah, so that's pretty much about the changes we pushed in last 1 week. Any questions before we move to PR? Yeah, some backlogs. All right. Next, we will discuss about the PRs open rates. Then we'll go to backlog. Yeah, this maybe I'll just merge it because I don't see any challenges there. It's all working fine. If I'm not wrong, yeah, tests are all green, and then that means I think we are. I mean, the build is the main concern there. And also we can see like what changes they have merged, right? So they have merged changes in terms of updating some scripts that will not create a lot of trouble, and then DHCP thing what I see, and then even we are good because we're not doing anything with the DHCP. Like we're not using anything from the DHCP in this repository. I'll just go ahead and then approve it. Right? All right. Going back to this image, previous image in the machine spec. Yeah, thanks, Rajat, on submitting this PR. I do have some comments. Maybe I'll just drop those comments post this meeting. I think translate it overall looks okay, except few minor changes. I'll let you know. So otherwise, it's looks good to me with minor comments. Yeah, hopefully let's try to maybe merge this PR by today, so that I can cut another alpha release. That alpha release I can use it wherever I need it.
Yeah, Manju, sure. And also, Manju, I'm actually trying to figure out the issue with the worker nodes coming up, right? So I have seen this like in the controller, right? So the worker nodes don't come up and they keep on waiting for the bootstrap data.
Is that like with this obvious image, or in general it happens?
Uh, Power image as in Manju?
As in, is that issue happening only with this obvious image spec, or in general it is happening?
No, I think it is in general happening because Raji got a cluster up yesterday. So I was checking with her
Okay.
just now, and I asked her for the latest commit. So the previous commit right before this release document. So whatever has been merged with that, she got a cluster up yesterday. But now
Okay.
but she was also saying that when she's trying it the second time, her control plane is coming out, but the workers are not coming up. She's saying.
Okay.
So I
Okay.
don't think it is specific to IBM Power VS. Even I have checked out to the latest code what we have, and I'm trying to deploy a cluster from my end also to see if what is
Okay.
happening. But she's saying that she got clustered up with all the latest code. Okay, and later when she tried to do it again, she was facing the same issue that workers were not coming up.
Okay. Yeah,
And
we can debug.
yeah,
Maybe it
so
is a corner case or whatever, because I see that yesterday test ran fine. Yeah, maybe it is a corner case, I would say. Of course, these are the failures for some other reason, but I see that, yeah, day for yesterday also we just ran plenty of times, and then and yesterday also.
yeah,
That's it.
and what happens, Manju, right? So, as per my initial assessment, what I figured it out that the control plane status, right? So,
Uh-huh.
for the bootstrap, we have that kube config, right? In the YAML kube config that we create of kind kube config. So that is
Okay.
waiting. Yeah. So that is waiting for the control plane to become available.
Yes. Yes.
Ye-
True.
Yes, and it keeps on waiting for available. And why that is happening, I feel, is that because there is some issue in the QPDM control, which I was talking about yesterday, right? The status not being set. So I
Uh-huh.
feel that somehow that is interfering with that. So it is not able to set the status. And since it is not able to set the status, it is not able to fetch the data secret name from that status itself. And that is
Okay.
causing, yeah,
Okay,
I
can
will
you
share that
create a
as a,
issue?
yeah.
Maybe can you create a issue here and then see if we need to debug further. And
Yeah.
if something needs to be, kind of take help from Cluster API, then we can also talk to them, because I see there's a new PR, I mean, new release created. I have issue also open for that. Actually, I sorry, I see that new release where, okay, it's in PR, right? Sorry. Not sure. They are fixing few commits. Not sure if any of these commits are addressing. Just take a look at it if any of these are really addressing any of the issues you're talking about.
Yeah, Manju, I'll check that. And Manju,
Yes.
the CI that you have, right? Like the test cases on Pro. So
Yeah.
this does a full cluster deployment, right?
Oh, yeah. So this is a periodic job we are running inside our Prog cluster for deploying the workers, and scaling also is there. So I think Amulya can talk about that more, like what scenarios is
Okay.
recurring.
Yeah, because so one question I had was like when we do a tilt up, right? So basically there we see different logs of QBDM control plane. Then we see a different log for CAPI IBM cloud provider, right? So is there a way to see those logs here, like KCP or something like those part?
Oh, for this particular job.
Yeah,
Okay.
because
Can
the
you talk
issue,
to
yeah,
Raji for that? I think this job is pushing some logs. I'm not sure because it's not. Of course, we are
Uh,
not able to view logs here, but it is pushing the logs to our S3 bucket. She should be able to give you a link where you can see all the logs.
okay,
yes,
okay.
Manju, it actually generates logs for all the components, but it's not here as artifacts. I'm not sure why.
Yeah. So can you, Amulya, Prajot, and can you guys work with Raji and see where these logs are getting pushed? I'm damn sure these logs, see, they're in proper logs artifacts somewhere directly, right? So they will automatically get pushed to S3 bucket, what we are maintaining internally. So it's just matter of like getting the access and then viewing the logs.
Yeah,
Okay,
sure. I'll check with her. Yeah.
yeah. But if I can get the logs right, then
Yeah, you
I can
should.
yeah, because I can
You
just
will.
verify that part.
Okay. Okay.
If that error was even seen in this case, right? Like then it will be a corner case if this error is seen here.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
if it
Yeah.
was not, then I'll need to further figure out why that is happening.
Yeah, definitely. I think maybe I feel it is a corner case. Yeah, I mean, another reason is that if your cubes, cube Kubernetes like cluster should be running up and running, right? So cluster, as in when I say Kubernetes cluster, so when you deploy the control plane should be reachable. So only then we can get the token of token the kube ADM token and then whatnot, right? So the kube ADM joint token. So the another thing I will debug is like, is your Kubernetes control plane is up and running or not, right? So that we need to confirm. Can you try that as well? Like, is Kubernetes control plane is up and running in that cluster?
Eh, yeah, Manju, I think that may be an also issue, right? Because
Yeah.
in the error, right? In the error, I can see that it is giving that IP and it is saying it is not able to reach that cluster, remote cluster, right?
Yes.
Like
That's something we need to debug.
yeah, error creating client and cache for remote cluster.
Yeah. So that
And
can be because your kubeadm controller is not able to reach to your Kubernetes control plane what we have deployed in Power BI. So I would say like just go ahead and then log into the control plane VM and then see the status of cloud in it and see if it is already finished and then whether Kubernetes cluster is running inside or not. So that's something we need to debug and check, right?
okay, Manju. Yeah.
Yeah, so she is testing with some modified scripts and then whatnot. I think say first we should ensure that the Kubernetes control plane is up and running. So then only then worker will work. Right?
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Actually, like I've seen this similar issue initially while I was like working on the E2E test. So the control plane doesn't run, and the issue was because CNI was not deployed. But I'm not sure
Okay.
it is over here. So that was, and that's why it doesn't come into ready state, and also next the worker nodes are not coming up. This was
What was
something
not
I
deployed, Amulya?
CNI, like the
Okay.
control plane doesn't come into ready state because there's no CNI deployed in it. I mean, I could always see the error of, like it's not in ready because there's no network plugin deployed.
But
Okay.
that will not stop the workers to create, right? Mulya? So the workers will it does create the worker, right?
Yeah,
Progress, right?
yeah. One instance I did see this, but it does create. Yeah, just one.
Okay. Yeah. But anyway, I think we need to debug further. So let's create a task or thread somewhere and then we can discuss further on this. Okay. All right. Thank you. And another, yeah. So another thing is like, so we need it's asking us to upgrade to the next version, and then that I don't want to merge via this PR. So because we need to update a lot of other things, what I have done is I have created another issue for that here. So, and also I have tagged Amulya because she did it recently and then she knows the exact steps to do it. So Amulya, it will be great if you can take, like, maybe we can update this whenever you get a chance. I definitely want to be part of 0.2, right? Yeah, so I will go in detail about 0.2, what else we need. Yeah, enhance the goal and linting. This is a long term. It's fine. I'm not sure whether Amulya, you got any time for doing this. Maybe I think it's fine. We can park it for some time. So maybe we can take it later. So it's more of a beautification of the part.
Okay.
But yeah, Oscars and then E2E should stand as the highest priority at the moment. And then cloud provider integration, I think it's a status quo, so we don't really have any update there. So, and set up a meeting, community meeting. Okay, so this is about updating everything, right? So I just have this one open PR. So once it is not, I can just close this one. Yeah, this is still pending. This is fine. We can take a look at later and then use an imported image. So, already Prajot created a PR for this. And this Amulya is working on Boscas thing. So any update there, Amulya, so about Boscas?
Yeah, it's almost done. Like I just have to test it in IKS. I will do that today.
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah.
So do you need, so we are supposed to change something in the, like in the E2E flow, right? It's in the Boscas, definitely the Boscas link and all
Yeah,
that.
yeah. So yeah, it's
Okay.
just an additional like script comes in there.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Cool. That's good to hear, right?
Yeah. And also I had one question here. So um, should we also handle the machines, right? Like Power machines are coming up deletion via this. I mean, right now we're handling the network.
Yes.
So like
Yeah.
CLI for
Yeah,
this thing.
I have some idea there. Maybe we can work together for that. I mean, in previous ADM, right? So we have a command called purge, right?
Okay.
So in the purge, what really happens is you can delete whatever resources you want, and then maybe we can have. I think we already have a purge command for network deleting network also. I'm
Yeah.
not wrong. So what we can do is maybe just have an additional logic there for looking for all the VMs underneath and delete them and then wait till we don't really have anything else under that network and then delete the network, right? So that flow we can handle it. When it's
Yeah.
the framework is already in place, it's just matter of implementing a little bit, as in just expanding it a little bit further, right? So that's something we can do. So I'll let you know the path where we can do it. So you don't need to do a lot of, no need to reinvent the wheel. So we just have the content. It's just a matter of extending further. Right?
Yeah, sure. Okay.
All right, I will let you know about that. And then handle the delete image flow when is deleted. Okay, so this is another task I have, the bug I have created. So whether this is mainly when I'm not sure whether you got a chance to read this or not. So did you get a chance to read this? What I created?
Yes, Manju, I did. Yeah. And yeah, I can take care of that. Yeah. So I'll try to fix the integration first and this will be done.
Oh,
I think
yeah, of course. So yeah, this is bug. So this can wait. So not necessarily it's
yeah.
needs to be done as
Yeah.
soon as possible.
Yeah, I have
Yes.
looked at it, Manju, and I also have an idea of what needs to be done where. So it should not take much time. Yeah.
Okay, fine, no problem. So maybe next week we'll deal with this. And then of course, bumping thing, right? So yeah, Amulya is going to work on that. So I just add Amulya here. Yeah, so I just mentioned all these, right? So modifying the Go mod and then also modifying the V config to use the latest image, right?
Yeah, sure, Manju. I'll work on that.
All right, so that's pretty much what I wanted to discuss. I don't want to talk about the feature next release so that we can discuss later sometimes. So we just discuss. I mean, this is pretty much I wanted to discuss. Anything? Open for any other discussions if you want to. Anything else want to discuss? Anything else? All right. So if nothing, we can close the call. Thanks, folks. Thanks for joining in. And then don't forget, to mark your attendance. Let's mark the attendance, folks. Okay. Thanks. Thanks for joining the call.
Yeah,
Bye.
thank
Have a
you.
nice
Bye.
day.